Hi there, I'm Mark White. I'm an emergency physician. I'm 54 years old. I have 4 grown children, a wife, and 4 cats. I've been inventing pretty much all my life. When I was a little kid, my mom used to make stuff in the basement. We had very primitive tools. We used a lot of toxic chemicals. I can remember distinctly doing a lot of casting, starting with creepy crawlers, which kids these days wouldn't know what that is. We didn't have hardly any power tools though. I've never actually had any classes that taught me how to do any kind of engineering or inventing. I never took any classes for computer programming or electronics. It's mostly been self-taught, do-it-yourselfer stuff. I'm working on a project now that I built 30 years ago just for fun to see what it would be like to rebuild it from scratch. The thing that's most striking to me is the difference between today and when I started 30 years ago. 30 years ago I felt like I could make just about anything, but you really had to be creative in the materials you use and how you source parts. The machinery was basic, drill press, bandsaw, grinder, that kind of stuff. And you really had to use your imagination as to how to shape parts and put things together. Of course, there were computers back then, but they weren't nearly as sophisticated as they are now. They weren't design tools in the three-dimensional sense like that. They were more two-dimensional design tools. I think that electronics and digital computing have absolutely revolutionized the home craft market, the do-it-yourselfers, and for inventors. When I did things 30 years ago, just basic things like finding parts, I used to have to set aside time to go to the library, and they had this 30-volume set of books called the Thomas Register, and you would go to the section for what you might need, and you would look through listings. People would have advertisements in there. You'd make copies of it, go home, make a phone call, make an order, send a check, and then wait for something to come in the mail. Today I just use Amazon, and within 5 minutes I can source almost anything and have it in my hands in 2 days. It's just absolutely amazing. When I first started out inventing, I had a mentor, and he taught me a lot of things. But one of the things he told me was there is no off button on an inventor. You pretty much invent whatever comes to mind, or whatever meets your fancy, or whatever might be necessary for a particular project or application. I kind of feel like once you're an inventor, everything becomes an opportunity to invent. When you're a business person, you invent ways to make money. You invent procedures that run a company. You invent ways to market. I feel like inventing is a normal, fundamental part of any business. I think entrepreneurs are natural-born inventors. I think it's really important for kids today, especially, to have some kind of experience with inventing something, especially since now more than ever there's more opportunity not only to invent things but to actually bring them to reality.